Hey guys, Ryan with Mid-Atlantic Collectibles here. I'm going to share a few observations from the recently completed CSA show in Chantilly, Virginia. And CSA shows, this was my fourth show, at least my fourth, maybe my fifth. They're held quarterly in the Dulles Expo Center in Northern Virginia, not very far from DC. They are a regional show. They attract dealers from around the country. I met dealers from Wisconsin, Indiana, Chicago, a lot of them from New York, Atlanta. I'm sure there were dealers there from California and out west. I don't recall meeting any, but I'm sure they were there. This was a little bit about myself. So I went to my first show back in 1984 at the Oaks Mall in Gainesville, Florida, my hometown. Go Gators. And I've also went to my first national in 2010. I've been to six nationals altogether, a couple in Baltimore and Chicago, also Chicago, Cleveland, and this will be my first one in Atlantic City. Really looking forward to that. This is the first CSA show I've attended since the pandemic. So the hobby has changed dramatically since then, as has the CSA show, which we'll talk about. So I'm a collector. I'm not a flipper. I'm not an investor. I come at it from someone who just loves the actual cards themselves and holding them as a collector. Okay, first observation number one, cards are back in a really big way. And compared to the CSA shows from prior to the pandemic, the focus was very heavily on sports autographs and autographed guests. And the tables at the CSA shows back then were really dominated by aisles and aisles of people selling, helmets, jerseys, autographed items, and with big kind of framed photos and jerseys that were framed as well. This was very different. So it used to be you might have two aisles, I make two or three aisles of card dealers. This was dominated by the card dealer aisle upon aisle. Really, that's where the size, the energy, the traffic, the dealers were fantastic. You saw a lot of people carrying cases. They're kind of briefcases with the thick padding of graded cards that they were there to do business with. You didn't used to see that at CSA shows at all. So that was really exciting to see just kind of that tremendous energy there. Observation number two, demographics. Okay, so the demographics of our hobby are very clearly changing, although I don't think they're exactly changing the way some people advertise. So if you read something like Josh Luber's, 50-page manifesto on our hobby and what's taking place, one of the things he notes is that at the last national, the average age of the attendee was 25 years younger than previously. First of all, I don't know where they get that statistic from. I certainly didn't share my age with anyone at the national, but even if that's correct, the way in which the demographics of the hobby are changing, it's not that the kids are back. I saw a few young ones, a few teens, and certainly kids there with their parents. But really, the way the demographics of our hobby in our area is changing is that there are a lot more people, I'd say mid to late 20s to 40s, that have been pulled back into the hobby or maybe in the hobby for the first time, and a lot less gray hair. Honestly, there's still a lot of vintage dealers that are clearly retirees or certainly older, but there is a lot of a shift down and generally in the demographics of the hobby to those in kind of their, I would say, like I said, 20s to 40s. So much more variety. You still have older collectors as well, but I don't think that sports collecting is pulled back in the kids the way they were so excited about the hobby in the 1980s. Of course, that has a lot to do with the way just life has changed in general, and there's a lot more things, forces pulling at their attention, from video games to whatever it may be. I'm not sure that those kids get back into it or not. We'll see. We'll see what Fanatics is able to pull off. Okay, last observation number three goes to the substance of the what was kind of changing hands there. And clearly, Northern Virginia or Washington, D.C. area, basketball and football are king. And in fact, I would probably put football, which I think is not necessarily the case nationally. I think basketball is bigger, but football, my sense was just, what I was kind of sensing and making the rounds there is that our area is a very big, has a very big football base and football collecting and card collecting base. Um, I would say that I had been hoping to see a lot of soccer cards. I personally am a soccer collector, and I'm actually a vintage soccer collector. I don't think I saw a single vintage soccer card in the entire show, which is a little bit sad, but I guess not too surprising. You don't see very many of them even at the national show. So I do think, maybe we'll see more soccer as the World Cup approaches in November, and looks like the United States has got a pretty good team. I'm sure it's going to be exciting. So, hopefully we'll see some more enthusiasm for soccer cards in the months ahead. It also could be a reflection just generally of our geography in this area and in the sports that dominate. I would also say I was surprised, and maybe others will disagree with this observation, but I saw very little wax and unopened material. And usually I would go and half the tables would be selling unopened boxes and new retail stuff. And I didn't see nearly as much of that. I saw aisles and aisles of cases full of individual cards. And maybe people just have better places to buy wax, or maybe it was a matter of using space most effectively. I'm not sure exactly, but that's definitely something I noticed. So there you go. Those are my three big observations from the card show, CSA. Again, it's a very professional event. Kudos to the team that puts it on. They draw a lot of fantastic dealers and a lot of foot traffic at the show. Parking was much more difficult. You had to go pretty far out to get in. Kind of last thing I want to say is that, still very much buyer beware out there. There are definitely some bad seeds, and people need to be very careful. If you're new to the hobby, or even if you're not new, but the dollars have gotten a lot bigger, and the risks have grown a lot, and there is a lot of kind of bad stuff happening out there. So two examples I saw were Star basketball cards. I collect Star basketball, so I'm pretty knowledgeable on what is and is not an authentic card. And I saw a lot of them that were, I don't want to say a lot, but I saw Star basketball cards that were clearly not authentic. They're only graded by one company, BGS, and they're very hard to identify what is and is not authentic, which is why PSA and SGC don't do it. But those cards go for a lot. They were produced in the early to mid 1980s and were the first cards for players like Michael Jordan and other just super NBA stars like Charles Barkley and Hakeem Olajuwon and Patrick Ewing. So they're very sought after, but you got to be very careful when you buy those. The other ones I saw that were clearly not kosher were some vintage Rack Packs 1960 Tops that were in Christmas packs, and those are repackaged. Those are not produced by Tops, and they were not being advertised as repackaged or kind of not authentic original issue cards. So I'm sure there was other stuff out there. I was there for about 6+ hours on Saturday. I'll be the first to admit I did not attend all 3 hours or 3 days of the show, but I was there, I think, during really the peak activity. And I talked to a lot of dealers because I was doing some business of my own there. And it was really exciting to be talking to people in person again at card shows. So excited to go to my next CSA show, and also excited to continue attending our local smaller local shows that are really thriving and have some great dealers and great material. Shout out to the Schaff promotion shows in Annandale that happen on a monthly basis. I know there are others that I look forward to attending as well soon, and as well as the big shows like Atlantic City coming up. Can't wait. So hope you found this interesting, and look forward to seeing you out and about.